On this show, we follow the money, and when VSiN decided to launch our own store, the smart money was on Shopify. Getting the VSiN store off the ground was easier than we expected, and Shopify's templates and AI tools had us look incredible and professional from day one. Zero coding required. Shopify checkout keeps sales moving smoothly, and returning customers can complete a purchase in one click. Built-in analytics, you always know what's selling and where your customers are coming from and how to keep the momentum going. When questions come up, and they will, Shopify's AI assistant Sidekick is there with answers so you never lose momentum. You can check out the store at vsin.com/store. And if you're ready to build your own, all you need is the idea. Shopify handles the rest. Start your free trial at shopify.com/vsin. Shopify.com/vsin. Again, that's shopify.com/vsin.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the sports betting network. Mitch Moss along with Mike Somich today in studio. Today and the entire weekend. We have a 3-hour banger lined up for you today. Plenty on Major League Baseball. Monday's trading deadline in that sport looming. The rumors will not stop around Tigers starting pitcher Tarik Skubal. Plenty on the NFL today. Great guests. We'll hit most wins in August with Chris Belm, friend of the show, who dives into the numbers big time coming up in 30 minutes. Charger preview today. Chris Bennett from here at Circa. And Lou Finocchiaro with his best bet in the NFL coming up at 6:30 Eastern time. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing good. It feels real, doesn't it? It feels like football is officially like coming / here. Every chance we get now, we get to talk about the NFL. We've got all these different players. We're already reporting to camp. I am loving this time of year because the excitement just starts to build. I'm here to sign up for Survivor, right?
You're doing that this weekekend?
I'm doing it this weekend. So it's all happening, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, August is tomorrow, obviously. The World Cup consumed our entire summer up until
great.
It was fantastic, right? But now that that's in the rear view, and I saw Brad Powers tweet this out last night, professional bettor, college football. He'll come on the show during the season. He's like so close you could almost taste it, and he put that mouth guard like in high school when you had to like heat the mouth guard for you. And that has like 1,400 retweets or something like that. Like people are just like, let's go, baby, it's here.
I gotta say, the World Cup was like the best possible appetizer for sports because we got this month and a half of the summer where we generally don't have these big time events. It gets filled up. I will say, it's put me behind on my college football prep.
I'm right there with you.
Can't wait for the guide to come out Monday so I can consume it. So excited to have that college football guide out as well. But I mean, look, we got ESPN over here. It's all football. Can't wait to get this season going.
Yeah, what's next summer going to be like compared to this year with no World Cup and then with this lockout looming for Major League Baseball that could take? And that to me is, if I'm close this year, the Brewers would be an example. The Rays would be an example. Don't you kind of look at next year and the lockout and say, damn it, we are going to make 2026 our season. We're going all in right now because we might not have one game to play next season.
See, I will actually go a step further. Yes, 100% those teams go for it. What about the Pirates? What about teams that have, I'll say, edge cases that they could make the World Series if the pitching lines up correctly? And you know you're going to have a floor in the upcoming seasons from a salary cap perspective.
Yeah.
You've got to spend some money. Why not go out and spend that money this season to prep yourself for what's going to come for the collective bargaining?
I would say that any team, like the Twins now are all of a sudden, they went from earlier this week being absolute dead set on selling their players, right? Jeffers, Joe Ryan, others. They won a couple of games in miraculous fashion, walk-offs. They're like, we're not going to sell, we're going to buy. Because we're right there. I think almost every team, but that also creates a market in which now you have, 20 buyers maybe? And how many teams are truly going to be sellers? Like, that's going to be how the dominoes are going to have to fall. And also it comes into, if the Brewers, we're going to hear a tremendous soundbite that pains me a little bit from Buster Olney coming up. If the Brewers want Skubal and make it their year, they're going to have to go above and beyond, evidently, to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, the Skubal market obviously heating up, and and this goes into what Buster Olney said, but the little dirty secret of Major League Baseball is the best farm system in baseball is, oh, by the way, the Dodgers.
Which is crazy.
Also not a bad team right now on the field.
They're okay.
So it creates a situation where, the Dodgers could almost just block other teams from getting him more than anything else. Like, we don't need him, but man, we'd really prefer the Braves, the Braves, the Brewers, the Cubs, the Rays, the Yankees. We prefer they don't get them. So why don't we just go out and make it happen?
That is, in fact, the narrative that I've heard from reporters today, is that it might be a move just to block every other team because the Dodgers can absolutely do it.
Scary.
This is crazy. This is Buster Olney talking about this situation with the Dodgers earlier today.
If the Tigers decide they're trading Tarek Skubal, and as you and I are talking right now, that is, the hard message, the white smoke has not come out from the Tigers organization yet to the industry. But if they decide to trade for him, the Dodgers want him, the Dodgers are going to get him. They can act with more flexibility. And then one official say to me that they are hell-bent on going back to back to back this year in winning championships, especially with the uncertainty of what the financial model is going to be going forward.
It's crazy. If they want him, they will get him.
I mean, you would assume they're going to want him, right?
I would think.
Why would you not want him if you have the flexibility? You put it out, you've laid it out well. We're probably going to have a shortened season or possibly no season next year.
Yeah.
Why not go and use some of these young assets you're going to have one last year of and go out and find a way? Now, the Dodgers, I think, are in an interesting position because a lot of the new rules are going to be centered around how do we stop the Dodgers from doing what they're doing. So you don't necessarily know long-term how it's going to affect them from a salary cap, from a roster perspective, what moves they're going to have to make when baseball does reconvene at whatever time that is. But you know what? That's all in the future. I'm all about the now from the Dodgers.
You have to be. Yeah, and like you said there, the tail end of that soundbite is they are hell-bent on going back to back to back, and I don't blame them. Right? They were set up for this window to dominate this sport, and they have done that the last couple of years, and that could be a thing. I mean, we'll be talking about any team that three-peats forever, and if they could do that, then obviously who knows what would be beyond that year. And I don't know if we're going to get baseball next year, but the following season, they're going to be set up to keep winning. Ohtani's only 32 years old. Everybody else on that team, for the most part, and they'll continue to make moves. You are very well-versed in Kelce. I was super impressed. I'll pull back the curtain here. We had our weekly meeting. It was like 2 weeks ago, and you had the floor and you shared, because you're based in California, so you're on this every single day pretty much, right?
I am, yeah. I don't have access to all of the books that the fine people in Las Vegas do, so I've got to find my workarounds out there in California.
You have plenty of prediction markets to work with in California. So what does this mean overall that yesterday in this market for Tarek Skubal's next team, and the fine print here is by August 5th, 2026. Yesterday, the volume here in this market was at 150,000. It has more than doubled since then. It's at 300. So at this point, you can probably get down a pretty significant bet if you want, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you look through, especially at the top tier teams, right? So when you're dealing with these prediction markets, you don't have quite the volume right now to where you could really get a massive bet down unless you're looking at the top 2 or 3 teams. Those right now are the Dodgers, the Brewers, and the Braves. Those 3 you can get quite a bit down. I think the fact that you're seeing this money heat up is just kind of everyone piggybacking off what we're hearing is that Skubal most likely is going to move. And if he does move, it's really consolidated into 1 of 3 teams. And so you're seeing some of that action really bubble up to the forefront. Now, the interesting part is what if he doesn't? The Tigers would then pay out if he's still on the squad there on August 5th. So we'll see what happens here. But it is one of those very, very interesting markets where it's a unique way that you can play it that's not necessarily offered in traditional books.
Would you take a little Detroit at 6%?
No,
you're pretty convinced that he's going to be gone.
I would rather be betting a couple no's and trying to create a little bit of value that way versus betting a bunch of yeses. Because to me, it's like if he goes, it's probably going to beat the Dodgers. And I'd rather go and look at like some of these teams, like the Braves, who don't have a great farm system, would have to pay through the nose. I'm not sure really willing to do that.
How about this? The Braves, I'm glad you brought them up. They're up 14%.
That seems high.
To 17% today.
Yeah.
The Brewers were high 20s this week. And by the way, the Dodgers got as high as 47 earlier in the week. They dipped down to 36 earlier today, now 42%. Dustin and I brought that up yesterday, buying the no on some of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, you can try and essentially say, hey, I'm going to combine multiple no's to spend 80 cents. And then if he goes anywhere except for one of the teams I selected, I capture the other 20 cents of value, right? And so that's a way that you can kind of use some of these, especially in these situations where you're looking at next team, things like that, where the market is pretty well-versed and you don't have the ability to buy no at books.
For those who want to know more about Kelce, but that is one of the keys. I'm glad you brought that up. So because they have almost every single team listed, like if you want to take a flyer on a team like Philadelphia, for example, there's not going to be a lot of volume on Philadelphia. So you're not, even though the contract says right now, yes, is at 3 cents, you're not going to get down much money at all.
No, I mean, you look at it, it's like $50, $40.
So yeah.
So and then if you do want to get more than that, you have to go up multiple cents. So if you want $250 on it, you'd have to go to 5 cents, not 3 cents. And so you're buying through multiple pennies there, which obviously means you're not getting as good a number.
Yeah. It's like almost like when you're trying to get down at a number at like, let's say plus 180 on a game and it spins and spins and spins and it doesn't take it. And all of a sudden, hey, do you want plus 135? Well, no, I try to get down to plus 180.
It's kind of like live betting when you're play behind.
Yeah,
and you're
for
like,
sure.
oh, crap. Like, I know they picked up the first down now, right? And you see that movement there. It's similar to that with the liquidity that's offered in some of these markets.
Now, did we learn anything, though, from because people evidently, I mean, again, with the volume here, they love betting on this stuff. Right? Did we learn anything from the LeBron market? That had, more than $200 million in it, and Philadelphia was 8%?
Yeah, I think it's, nothing, Jon Snow, is what we learned. It's a lot of people are speculating. Some people want to say, well, when you look at these prediction markets, that tells you exactly where someone's going to go. It tells you where someone's going to go in a moment of time, right? And rarely are you going to see, I'm going to say, insider wagering until like 25 minutes before the actual announcement comes. So when you're days out, I don't consider that sharp money. I consider it people who are trying to play a specific idea, position, thought, not someone who is in the know.
Or like the latest report that came out.
Exactly.
Whatever it might
That's
be.
going to move it, right? Like
Sure.
Buster Olney, I'm sure, moved this number when he said if the Dodgers want him, they can go get him.
Because I'm looking right now, it was 37% today at 10:03 a.m., and so he said that, and then it's been up to 40+% ever since.
So people are buying the news, right?
Yeah.
They're not buying actual inside information
Correct.
that means he's going there.
Correct.
And the other part of this is, if someone knew something, 47% would be a bargain. This would be like 85%, right? You're
well
going to see a
said.
massive
Yep.
spike.
Yep. By the way, another thing that we kicked around yesterday, and I can't wait to get into this with Chris Bennett, who is in charge of all the baseball numbers and the sportsbook here at Circa, coming up at 6 o'clock Eastern time. What would you make? Let's say that. Well, first of all, if it's Brewers Dodgers NLCS, Game 1 is in LA, Yamamoto versus The Miz. What do you make that number?
Probably Dodgers minus 145-ish.
Dustin said minus 120.
That's low.
They'll take money. I thought minus 140 on the Dodgers, because I don't think you can make The Miz more than like plus 120 in that neighborhood against anybody.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. I'm anti-Miz as much as more than other people, just because we haven't seen the longevity from him yet.
That's fair.
So I'm interested to see how he does when he gets to 30 starts.
Okay. Totally, yeah, 100%. That makes sense. No question. Up next, the NFL. Hype season has already started with NFL training camps. Can't get enough of it, right? The goal of this star running back is to win the rushing title this year. I think he's from your favorite team as well. There's one major problem with this. I'll tell you what it is coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Coming up in 15 minutes, it is a huge weekend in Mike's world. He's going to give out some best bets with analysis at that time. Right now, we go out to the Progressive guest line. Friend of the show, sports bettor Chris Bellm, joins the program now, as he does before the beginning of every month in Major League Baseball, to talk about most wins in that upcoming month. Hey, Chris, good to see you the other day out here, by the way, in Las Vegas. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. Yeah, thanks for having me back on. And had my buffer day yesterday. I'm fully recovered from my time out in Vegas this week.
No tickets last month on the Red Sox, huh?
Man, it did not. Hats off to Gil, grabbing them at 80-1. But another longer shot that we've seen. That's 4 straight months where we've seen 20-1 or higher cash this market. So that number was all over the place. 80-1 open. I think it closed as low as like 10-1 at Caesars. So hats off to him.
It is not often you can get a rocking chair 80-1 winner.
Gil, think about that.
I mean,
in a market that's been around now, I think since like 2023, almost every single month has been sweaty down to the wire. Gil has an 80-1 shot, and he never had to sweat it.
It's over the last week. It's just over. 20-4 on the month. Absolutely phenomenal from the Red Sox. Brewers second there, 15-10. And you do a great job, Chris. You put this out every month on Twitter. You've got everything up where it specifically lays out, okay, how many games are each of these teams playing? Who's the favorite? What are the prices in different markets? First thing that jumped out to me, the Dodgers, your favorite. 27 games. Playing the least games in August. How do you bet the Dodgers as a favorite here?
It's good. They're number one in the model again. They dripped off the number one spot last month for the first time, which I wasn't even expecting to see. But yeah, they're back slotted number one again. And it's crazy looking back at the history of August. We've seen longer shots cash so far this year. However, if history says anything in the month of August, last year we saw the Brewers do it. In 2024, we saw the Brewers and Dodgers split that market. 2023 was the Dodgers in August. 2022 was the Dodgers in August. I even went a step further. 2021, the Dodgers tied that market. 2020, the Dodgers tied that market again. So Dodgers love to get hot in the month of August, and then the Brewers the last couple of years as well. So maybe it's not a longer shot this particular month, but we'll see if that changes from what we've seen so far this year.
I doubt this is baked into it at all. I mean, their power rating is obviously what it is, but they're the leaders to get Skubal. Could that be a reason why?
I think that's a great question, Chris. How do you factor in the trade deadline, which is happening smack dab in the middle of this month? You're expecting players to move. Peralta off the Mets. You may get Skubal to the Dodgers, to somebody else. Does that factor into your predictions at all, or you just say, hey, I'll let the chips fall where they may on that front?
It has to be in your head, and that's why for this particular month, I'm going against the grain of what we've seen so far this year. I want to look more at the top of the board. Spoiler alert, I'm not going with the Dodgers. However, I am looking at shorter shots only. And that's because not only what I just mentioned as far as the history goes, but you get into August and September, you've got the best teams who are already more likely to win this market. They're just going to get better. You have the trade deadline. They're adding pieces. They're just getting better. And you've got the worst teams that are sellers. They're getting worse. So you factor that in. I really want to stick to some of these shorter shots. Maybe it's not as sexy as some of these longer shots that we've seen cash every month, but I could not find value down the board the last few days on this market.
Yeah, I think that this month is a tricky one as well to come up with a bunch of teams that you like down the board, because if you do, like I'll give you an example. They don't have the easiest schedule this month, but the Padres have been playing better baseball. They're like 40-1, a bomb, right? Mm-hmm. What are they going to do? Like, what do the San Diego Padres do this in the next couple of days? And if they sell off, I'm going to have 40-1 stuck, and I'm like, that's a stupid bet on my part, right?
I mean, that's the parlay you're playing, right? You're playing, not only do they have to play well, they probably have to play well and not sell their pieces. And hopefully add pieces, Mason Miller, potentially out there. I think that's the scary part of this. I get it from a schedule perspective that you might be interested in them. And maybe if you're a little scared of what that deadline, what's coming at the deadline, maybe play half the bet or something along those lines where you don't have too much FOMO if the Padres happen to get it this month.
Yeah, it's interesting because you look at the 80-1 shots this month. We're talking about the New York Mets. We're talking about the Kansas City Royals, the San Francisco Giants. Not teams I'm looking to back, and definitely not teams that are anywhere near the talent level of the Red Sox, even when the Red Sox were struggling. All right, so let's talk top of the board. We are going to look at some of these teams that were sitting at a little bit lower odds this month, specifically because of everything that's going on and the advantages that they have according to your model. Who is one of your favorite bets here for the month of August?
All right. I have two. So I'm going to start off with my second favorite one, and that's the Milwaukee Brewers. You can get them at 10-1 at Circa, 8-1 at Caesars. They have 29 games, and that's tied for the most. There's 5 teams that have 29 games this month. I don't have to speak too long about how good the Brewers are. They've been great every single month. Mizrachi seems to go the first or second day of every single month when we talk about them. He's going on August 2nd this particular month. Kyle Harrison is coming back, and they're just loaded. They have a 12-team. Their first 12 games are against non-playoff teams, and then eventually they kind of run into a 4-game set with the Dodgers. They got the Braves in there as well that they'll have to get through. But a relatively manageable schedule, in my opinion. 16 of those 29 are at home. I like the Brewers here, and something to consider. Even though the Circa number is higher, because they would probably lose that tiebreaker, you might want to look at that Caesars number at a slightly less number.
Good angle, because the Circa tiebreaker would be fewest losses then overall for the month, and I actually had the Brewers in May when they won it, and the reason why I bet them here at Circa as opposed to Caesars is because they had the fewest games, and I wanted that potential tiebreaker to go my way.
Yeah, it's one of those markets where you absolutely have to know the rules.
Yeah, you have
know
to
where you're betting, understand the rules, because you're going to see differences in the odds because of the rules as much as anything else.
No doubt. So I've been on the Brewers twice this year, one winner, last month a loser. I think I'm going to be with you on them again. I can't quit the Brewers. I also have been on the Rays, I think, twice, have not cashed them. I think I might be on the Rays again this month. What do you think, Chris?
I like the Rays a lot. And unfortunately, one thing that's going to go against them, I just saw McClanahan about an hour ago. They're putting him on the IL. It's going to be short term. He might miss only 2 starts, it sounds like, but still, that's not something I wanted to see after locking in the Rays this morning. And all quotes last night and this morning, I was expecting they're not concerned. It was precautionary, but he is going on the IL. I just saw before joining the show.
Okay, yeah, that's
however,
bad news.
It is. But there's still a great case to be made. They have the third easiest opponent schedule in the month of August. They have 28 games, so just behind the 29, which is the most. I like some of the recency numbers as well. When you look at some of these teams going into the next month, they've been playing well. They're tied for second in most wins in July. It happens to be 5 behind the Red Sox, but still tied for second there. They have the highest batting average throughout the month of July in the American League. They also have the best opponent batting average against. So their staff's been great. Offense has been very good. So factor all of that in. And probably adding pieces as well, right? You got the trade deadline here coming up in a few days. And looking through that schedule, I think on the flip side, there's a lot of teams listed there that are likely selling. So not only it's the third easiest opponent win percentage right now, I think it's going to get even easier. Only 13 of the 28 are at home, which they've been great. They're 40-16 at home this year. But of the 15 that they have away, 3 are at the Rockies, 3 are at the A's. I think you guys would probably agree those are the 2 worst teams in Major League Baseball as we speak today. So I think it's just a great schedule for them to keep racking up some wins here.
Very good.
Now, real quick one for you, about 30 seconds. I looked through this chart that you post, and then the one name that jumps out to me is actually the Washington Nationals. 29 games, 50-1, right around 15 wins. Any interest in the Nats this month?
They did stand out. Especially when you start looking at what's Caesar's odds, what's Circa's odds, and Caesar's was 30, I believe,
yes.
and Circa's 50. I don't trust that pitching staff enough. I don't know what they're going to do at the deadline. I get it if you want to take like a sprinkle on a longer shot with them, but I passed on them this month.
Also, by the way, follow Chris on X. He's at Bellm Chris, Bellm Chris. He shares this every single month. Getting ready. The team with the easiest schedule this month is Texas, based on opponent's win percentage. But you're not betting them. That's the first team that you wanted to bet, but you can't, right? Because the odds are too low.
That's my FOMO team this month. And I wanted to ask you the same if you had one. I just couldn't get there. I wanted a better number. I was hoping to be 20-1 or higher. The Giant series that they have coming up, they face Webb and Robbie Ray. So I didn't like that as well. So I couldn't get there with the Rangers.
Okay. My FOMO team would be San Diego, but I don't think I'm going to do it. I can't.
Okay.
Chris, great spot as always, man. Thank you. And best of luck this weekend and in the month of August.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
There you go. Chris Bellm on the Progressive Guest Line. Up next, huge weekend in Mike's world. He'll dish out some best bets with astute analysis next here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Talk some LA Chargers here. It's Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Mike Somich. expecting to connect with a guest here as well momentarily. But I think this is another team where the range of outcomes could be all over the map. I mean, we had Adam Chernoff on the program yesterday, longtime friend of the show. One Super Bowl pick. It's the Chargers.
Woo.
So,
all right.
I mean, people are going to be that strong on them. Others, I think, are going to say, yeah, not going to be a playoff team this year.
Look, we talked about the Bears' regression.
Yep.
The Chargers' ability to step forward, very easy to make the case. Guess what? Both tackles are healthy.
Exactly.
Guess what? Mike McDaniel's in town. Boom. We're going to be significantly better on offense. Defense should be a little bit better. Herbert should be better. We're going to be a good team.
Yep, totally agree. And we'll expand on that right now as we go out to the Progressive guest line. Fernando Ramirez joins the program now, Chargers reporter for the Sporting Trib, at Real F Ramirez on X as well. Hey, Fernando, thanks for the time today. I'm guessing that you probably agree with that. Yeah, this team probably goes as far as the offensive line takes them this year.
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for having me on. It's just that's kind of been the MO of this team the last few years, as far, and maybe even as far as when Corey Linsley had to retire early because of a heart issue. So they just have been a mess, and it's funny because you would ask people since Corey Linsley retired, what's their biggest need? Center. And finally, Tyler Biadasz is a free agent right before free agency starts, and the Chargers said, we need to go get him. And then obviously with Mike McDaniel coming in, like you guys said, it was Cole Strange that was brought in to kind of help everybody as far as it came to scheme. And even fullback Alec Ingold has really been helping these guys kind of learn the lingo and learn what the offensive line scheme is going to be. But so funny, yesterday during training camp, I'm walking around and I hear a couple of F-bombs being thrown, and you're like, what is that? It was Butch Berry, offensive line coach. He gets so fired up. He's so loud. He's so his voice carries all over El Segundo. So, but yeah, no, this team is going to go as far as their offensive line can take them, and as healthy as they can be this season.
Now, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, and I would make an argument that Mike McDonald should have won Coach of the Year at least 1 year for how good he got Tua to play, because I am not a Tua guy. So I am fascinated with what he is going to be able to do with this offense. And one of those, one position specifically is the running back position here. You got Omarion Hampton, second year in the NFL. You got Keaton Mitchell, just a speedball that hasn't been able to stay that healthy. What do you expect from this backfield? Is it going to be Omarion Hampton's, and then maybe you'll see some Mitchell? Is it going to be a 50-50 split? And what is the upside for these guys in this McDaniel scheme?
Well, it's funny because Omarion, I mean, and they're just in shorts and everything. That's why I try not to overreact. A lot of people I see like overreacting on social media over not just the Chargers, but the NFL in general. My guys, they're in shorts. It's like in the Little Giants, they're standing around butts. Like it's not it's a little bit of everything that's happening right now. But Omarion yesterday was kind of gliding when running. He was gliding to his left, and then he saw a hole and he hit the hole. Oronde Gadsden had opened up a big hole for him, but. No, I really think that we cannot forget about Kimani Vidal, who kind of carried this running attack for them last year. I think it's going to be not an evenly split. I think Omarion's going to see the bulk of the carries, but I think they're going to sprinkle in Keaton. They're going to sprinkle in Kimani. I think they're going to do a little bit of everything with these guys, especially because if you go back and look at the stats, he had kind of a running back by committee. It just whoever was a hot hand, that's who he kind of went with. Game by game. So it kind of seems like, and I mean, he got Raheem Mostert to be a solid, like he got a lot of these guys that maybe everybody thought they were at the end of their careers, and he would kind of revitalize them, especially with this running scheme, the zone blocking scheme that he has. A lot of running backs have done a really good job under him, and that's what he said when he first came in. He's like, you guys may think, oh, I'm fancy, I just like to throw the football, I like to throw down the field to Tyreek Hill, to Jalen Waddle. He's like, no, I'm going to run the football. We're going to run the football effectively, and that's kind of what my game is. So yeah, no, I really think Omarion's going to have a huge year for these guys. But like you mentioned, Keaton Mitchell and Kimani, I think will also have a role in this running attack.
I certainly hope it's Hampton based on one of my fantasy leagues that I have, the Dynasty League. Yeah, for sure. Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Fernando Ramirez, our guest, covers the Chargers for the Sporting Tribune. Okay, what about the passing game then? Speaking of fantasy, plenty of people are absolutely in love with Ladd McConkey this year. Does he stick out from everybody else in the passing game? I'm looking at the depth chart right now. There's a lot to like. Or is this going to be more of Herbert spreading it around?
You know what's funny? Yesterday, right away, Ladd's been his favorite target. His second favorite target's been Brennan Thompson, the rookie out of Mississippi State. But going back to Ladd, yesterday, there was in the Greg Roman system, we didn't see a lot of throwing up like in the middle of the field. For some reason, he didn't like using the middle of the field. Yesterday, the Chargers were using the middle of the field a lot. Herbert had, I think, like out of 5 passes, 3 of them were to the middle, and it was 1 to Quentin Johnston, 1 to Trey Harris, and the one to Ladd. Ladd had kind of left the corner slipping because Ladd had cut inside so well. The cornerback kind of slipped. Ladd caught it. If that's a regular season game, he probably would have taken it to the house. So there's a lot of excitement about, again, what Mike McDaniel is going to bring. But I think the excitement is around Ladd McConkey because he's finally in an offense where he could hit the numbers that he did his rookie year, or even if he stays healthy, exceed him just because of how quick Ladd is. This seems like an offense that just fits Ladd McConkey, but they're excited about Quentin. They're excited about Trey Harris as well, but Brennan Thompson's the guy, the rookie out of Mississippi State, like I was mentioning. Herbert usually is calculated when he speaks. Like he kind of listens to the question, replays in his mind, and then answers. He, like off instinct, was they asked him about Brennan Thompson, and he goes, he's going to be very good for us. And then he kind of like stepped back a little bit and then answered, like followed up and answered the question fully. But you can just tell there's a level of excitement and there's a level of trust that Herbert is already building with Brennan Thompson.
It's funny because everyone talked about when McDaniel joined this team, just about how good he'll fit the run game and everything. He's going to fit Herbert exceptionally well too. Herbert was a timing quarterback in college. He's going to get back into that timing style system that we saw down in Miami. And I also love Keandre Lambert-Smith. I think there's just weapons galore on this Chargers team. We'll see how they all end up panning out. The defense obviously going to be on the field half the time as well. What are we seeing from the defensive side here? Can they take a step forward too?
Well, it was funny because on Wednesday, everybody was kind of like the question was, hey, Vita Vea. But just because there were some questions being asked about because obviously the tweet about Vita. But no, when it comes to the defense, I really think with Chris O'Leary, he's a young defensive coordinator. He's 34 years old, which Khalil Mack was not happy when I asked him, hey, he's a year younger than you. And he's like, what's your point? Obviously joking around, but they really like I think the players really like that Jim has tapped into the younger type of defensive coordinator who relates to the players. He was with the Chargers in 2024, goes in 2025 to Western Michigan to be a defensive coordinator. They go from the 118th ranked defense to the 9th in college football under Chris O'Leary. So everybody's very excited about him. They say he's like Jesse Minter, just more aggressive. But when you ask about what do you mean by more aggressive? Well, we can't tell you that. You'll have to wait week 1. Even Chris O'Leary yesterday told us, you guys are going to have to wait till week 1 to know what aggressive means. So to me, it just means maybe more blitzing with Jesse. It was more of the four linemen would go. I think with him, it's going to be a little bit more blitzing, but they like the addition of Dalvin Tomlinson. They see him as Poona Ford 2.0 in a sense, where Poona was with Buffalo, didn't really play all that well, comes to the Chargers, gets paid by the Rams. The same thing with Tomlinson. Tomlinson was with the Cardinals last year, felt like it wasn't a scheme fit, and feels like with the Chargers it is. But one player to look out for on the Chargers defensive line, Jamari Caldwell, second-year player out of Oregon. They're really excited about him and his maturation.
Okay, so August 3rd, August begins tomorrow, I should say, Fernando. You have a month or so to go before the beginning of the season. What is your prediction for the Chargers this year?
You know, it's funny. I mean, it's funny because everybody's talking about that stretch from like week 3 to week 10 where they face a lot of really tough opponents and they're facing a lot of teams that are coming off their bye week. But if you guys go back and look at the last 2 years, those are the games that Jim Harbaugh has feasted on. He loves that kind of doubt that people have when it comes to those games. Last year, everybody said they needed to start off quick. They started off 3-0. They need to end. It's going to be a grueling end. They went 4-2. So I have them at 11-6. I think it's a better 11-6 than we've seen the last 2 years. I think for the third year in a row, they'll go at 11-6. But I think this year they're going to have a much stronger team than they have because this is year 3 of Harbaugh. year 3 of Joe Ortiz and them building this team. And I really think this is the first year where it really is their team.
Great spot, Fernando. Follow him on X at Real F Ramirez, and he covers the Chargers for the Sporting Tribune. Thank you, pal. We appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys. Stay warm, or try and stay cool.
Borderline. That's difficult to do here, but we have pools, so that'll work. They have a net rest edge or disadvantage of minus 24 overall, worse than the entire NFL.
Not great.
Mike has a horse play that he likes, so we'll get into betting NFL awards coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Building those NFL and college football portfolios, a tradition unlike any other in July and August. Maybe even if you want to go back to like June some months, years, I should say.
I definitely had MVPs in June before.
I think I have as well, yeah. Well, how about 2020, the pandemic? With nothing going on?
You never know. You got to get something going.
I had way too much NFL, probably like in May and June that year.
It's funny how that works.
We go out to the progressive guest line here, longtime friend of the show, Uncle Lou Finocchiaro, typically on the program to talk UFC. Not today, my friends. His best bets in the National Football League with win totals. Hey, Lou, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Mitch. Mike, really appreciate you guys having me on. This can be an entailed breakdown. I'm going to do my best to keep it simple, concise, and informative.
No, don't do that. No, this is the 5th year you've done this. You're 3-1 overall. Typically, very easy winners. Last year, a death by 1,000 paper cuts because we went on like an 8-minute rant against the Bills, and it was absolutely fantastic. And they blew week 1. Well, the Ravens blew week 1 against Buffalo, and you lost it by a hook. So that's your one loser in the last 4 summers come on with us. We're all going in fresh to this. My guess was the Bears. Who is your favorite? Bears under, but who is your favorite win total for this upcoming season?
Yes, this year it's the Seattle Seahawks, and we're going to take them under. I'll get to the bets at the end because I want to try and just run through the reasons why I'm taking this. And the first real reason is that Seattle last year and this year are going to be really, really different on offense. And it revolves around this handicap, the loss of Kubiak, the loss of quarterback coach Janako, and the loss of receiving game coordinator Rick Dennison. Now there's 32 teams and 3 coordinator and head coach positions across the NFL. This year, there's like 24 coordinator and head coach. That's about a fifth. That's a lot of turnover. And for a guy like Darnold, who had as fragile statistics last year, to have to now lose his coordinator. And oh, by the way, this will be the 9th year that Darnold has a new offensive coordinator. And losing a guy like Kubiak is really going to hurt. So here's why it's going to hurt. Last year, the Seattle Seahawks had an amazing rate of early success. They used aggressive play calling, drilled execution, and they used a high rate of 12 personnel with Kubiak as opposed to the high rate of 11 personnel they had used the year before. And yes, the Hawks were 3rd in scoring. However, their offense had flaws. They were 9th in offensive success rate. They were 18th in EPA per play, 21 in red zone efficiency. Last year, the Seattle offense relied heavily on the big play. They exceeded all expectations when trailing last year. In fact, when trailing last year, they won 70% of their games. NFL average, 36.8. The offensive strategy and scheme is now going to be changed. Let's not forget that they traded their top MVP running back to Kansas City. The other running back, Charbonnet, is coming off a knee. And yeah, they say he's going to be ready for week 1, but you must protect the player against himself. These guys are all rushing back too fast. Mahomes, the poster boy for that, but we're talking about Seattle. Last year, the offensive scheme that's gone, third in scoring, fourth in 20-yard plays. The Seattle offense excelled in aggressive long plays last year. I think that's all going to go away with a weak offensive line, a new coordinating system, and gone are the two running backs for them. Let's just talk a little bit about Darnold. Last year, Darnold, second most intercepts of any quarterback in the league. He had the highest amount of fumbles, and he had the second most lost fumbles. That should not change. Darnold's been shaky with the ball wherever he has gone. Seattle has the 10th most difficult strength of schedule based on team totals in the NFL this year. And while that defense is stout and stoic and really renowned, last year the Seattle defense, EPA, was the highest rated defense they've tracked in 25 years. There has to be regression there, and especially since the Seattle offense is not going to be what it was the year before. It's going to put way more pressure on that defense. Seattle plays the AFC West this year as a set of teams that they had to play. Last year, they played the AFC South. Well, that's a big difference. This year, Seattle has to face the NFC East, and last year they played the NFC South. Again, another big difference. After the Week 7 bye, here's Seattle's schedule. San Fran, Dallas, the Giants, and that's off a Monday night game against Dallas, so a short week. Philadelphia, the Rams, Carolina, and then the Rams again. Off a Super Bowl, offensive continuity shaken, new coordinators, new running backs, a wide receiver room that I think is average or just better, and then the 9th offensive coordinator for Darnold in the last 9 years, all spells to me an easy approach to fading last year's Super Bowl winner, and I'm going to take him three ways. I'm going to take him under 10.5 minus 105 for 105 to win a unit. I'm going to take him under 9.5 plus 160 for a unit, and I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to take him under 11.5 at 2-1. I'll just put a unit there to just grab a little extra juice. I'm not trying to be greedy. I'm trying to be aggressive.
Yeah, this is one of the more interesting teams to me, Lou, when you look at this, specifically because not just what you mentioned with the adjustments to the offensive coordinator side, the defensive losses, you also look at what Sam Darnold did 2 years ago when he had KOC as his offensive coordinator. He's been in elite offensive minds for 2 years now. It's going to be interesting to see when he moves away from that and you look at this other situation. Now, are you looking at any other ways to fade this team by, let's say, betting the Rams to win the division? Or is there anything else that you can find creative ways to go against the Seahawks this year?
Yeah, at this juncture, those three will start me. I don't look at positives on teams yet, so I'm not thinking about any team to win a division or do something. But, hey, we have to understand that division with Seattle has San Francisco, has the Rams, and everybody loves the Rams. That's a team we can discuss later. And then there's the Cardinals. There's a team I'm trying not to talk too much about because I'm not afraid of them a bit.
Yeah. How many other win totals do you have as of right now? That's clearly your best bet, the Seahawks, under all those numbers you just talked about. Which other teams are you looking at, or have you fired on, if you don't mind me asking?
That's fine. No, I fired on one other, and that's under on the Ravens 11.5. Again, whole new coaching staff, whole new scheme for the quarterback. Without question, the quarterback's one of the most athletic guys around, but this is 7-8 years in the league. He was battling injury all last year, and now we're going to tell him maybe he isn't the runner that he used to be. We have to protect his health. Makes sense. What doesn't make sense is that he's not a pocket quarterback, and he's never going to be, and that's not going to work. And I see real trouble in Baltimore this year.
Okay.
Those are the two that I have bet to date.
Too strong. By the way, follow up on what Mike asked you a minute ago. Sorry. And that is, would you think about adding Seahawks to miss the playoffs at a nice plus price?
Yeah, I don't know why I'm going under 9.5. And that NFC, I think you got some teams in the NFC that could surprise, namely 4 of them in the Central. Maybe not Green Bay, but 3 of them in the Central.
Now, you also mentioned during the break you don't like to bet toward the upside right now. So you're basically playing unders, playing nos to the playoffs. When do you start looking at playing teams toward the over? When do you think that shift starts to happen for you?
I come to Vegas on the 7th of September. So the 7th, 8th, and 9th, the season starts Wednesday the 8th. By that afternoon at 4 o'clock, I will have my positives bet.
Okay. Do you have a... No, go ahead.
I really like to wait until I know what the final roster is, what the injury situation is, and nothing's going to surprise me. I don't like surprises.
You can follow Lou on X at GamLou. Great write-ups as always for the UFC, which we'll talk about with him down the road, but at vsin.com. And his podcast is called About Business as well. Lou, great as always. Thank you.
Mike, Mitch, thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate it. Good luck, everyone.
The Super Bowl champs, his favorite win total under every which way but loose.
What it makes sense, right? New OC, that was a big part of that offense being successful. We saw them not be successful with this head coach, a different OC 2 years ago. Darnold, obviously a big part of that. Is he going to be the same? And then I agree with the running back situation. He didn't even mention like what Price is going through. He's apparently not started the camp out hot. Like he's having trouble with pass blocking. Running back could be a much bigger issue for Seattle this year.
Follow the money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. I'll go over our best bets with in-pocket plays coming up next.